tonight's debate. He is sitting down with Fernando Mateo. Hi, Henry.
Hi, Dan. Mr. Mateo, I'm going to start with a real basic question. How do you think the debate went for you?
I think it went well. I think that people realize that I have an agenda, that I have positions, not policies, and that I am real, that I am the only true Republican in this race. This is about a primary that's happening June 22nd. And if I don't win the primary, rest assured that we will have 8 years of the same de Blasio policies and practices, because Democrats have all the same policies. They're not going to change. Curtis Lewa could not win in a general election. It's impossible. 2.5 million Hispanics live in New York City. 27%. They will vote for me because they know what I've done for them. The African-American community, the same thing. They know how hard I've worked for their community.
While you're talking about building a coalition, you say you're proudly a Trump Republican, say you voted for him twice. I think you made a little news tonight by saying you met with him in Bedminster. How did that conversation go, and can a Trump Republican truly win in this deep blue city?
The meeting went well. The president is saddened about the state of the city, the crime, the city that he helped build. You know, I was happy to see the president. Why? Because he is a president that I believe served our country well. And unlike other people like Curtis Lewa that hates Donald Trump, I don't dislike him. I believe that he did a good job. I am a Trump Republican. I'm an urban Republican. I have a different type of way of governing, a different type of way of communicating.
I want to highlight one thing that you said I thought was interesting, because you're all about freedom and government backing off. But you said in public schools you'd like to see uniforms.
Yes.
That just struck me as a bit of a contradiction. Can you explain?
No, uniforms in schools keeps the playing level, the field even for everyone. Kids don't go to school to compete who's wearing the best clothes and who's wearing the cheapest clothes and who's going to pick and bully on others. Uniforms, you go to any third world country and all the kids wear uniforms. Why? Because they need to be identified.
Let's stay with education, because we have just about 20 seconds left. You seem to be advocating for a very universal voucher system. Won't that leave some schools in the dark and some problems in some communities with such an aggressive program?
There are very bad public schools. You can convert them into charter schools. You can convert them into private schools. It's not that you're going to shut down public schools, but you're giving the parents the option of where they send their kids to school.
Mr. Mateo, they're wrapping me up, so I appreciate you staying within the time bounds, and thank you again for your time and for participating tonight. Dan, we're going to send it back to you.
Henry, thank you. I am here now with political professor Dan Cassino and Democratic strategist Dr. Susan Johnson-Cook. So thank you both for being here on such a big night here at Pix 11. So, Dr. Cook, let me begin with you on Fernando Mateo's overall performance this night briefly.
Overall, he's a generalist and not a realist. He never gave specificity. He just gave lots of general, moving emotionally and not strategically.
Dan?
Look, he did what he needed to do. You could tell very clearly there were certain things he did not want to talk about, and he effectively avoided talking about things he didn't want to talk about. So probably a win for him.
So let's talk about that then. On the issues, right? What would you say he needed to dive deeper into on specifics to maybe lift him up in the polls here?
Look, I think if you want to differentiate himself, I think his big opportunity really was on education. He has different views on education, things like uniforms. They aren't hearing from other Republicans or even other candidates in the race. And that's something that could potentially appeal to a lot of parents, something he probably would have done better to talk a little bit more about.
About the uniforms in itself.
Uniforms about his other ideas on education, yeah.
Understood. And Dr. Cook, what about the issues of crime? That is a big topic. Our Pix 11 News Nation Emerson College poll showed that crime and safety overall is a big concern. Did he address that?
I'm an Emerson graduate, so I thank you for that poll. He addressed it, but he said he would give the NYPD anything that they wanted. We need to do that. But you can tell that he's a Trump Republican, because he's just like Trump said, like, make America great again. He's like, make New York City great again. So he always kind of was general, never very specific, but he would do something with crime.
Yeah, on the issues of refunding versus adding more police, he said adding more police was the answer here.
He said actually a shocking number. They're talking about 20,000 new police officers in addition to the 35,000 we already have. An increase of 80% in the number of police officers. That's an enormous expense, and there wasn't much specifics about exactly how we're supposed to pay for that. And it's not clear what those specifics even could be.
And that's what we look to nail
even
them on.
Specifics about 2 police officers at each station. Again, how do we pay for it? That wasn't touched.
Exactly. Now let's talk about what he mentioned tonight, which was He visited President Trump. He also got that endorsement today from Michael Flynn. Does that help or hurt him in New York
In
City?
New York, it hurts him because he was talking about Trump's being disappointed about New York. A lot of people feel Trump was the one who was disappointing in New York, who made it what it is. And so that didn't stick very closely with
Dan,
me.
same question.
I've got to disagree a little bit. I think in the New York City Republican primary, that's probably a good thing. Look, former President Trump is not very popular in New York City as a whole, but among the Republican electorate in New York City, he's pretty well liked. So being a Trump Republican, being close to Trump is probably a good thing for him.
And it was interesting to hear that he actually visited him today.
Today.
The day of the debate.
Exactly.
Both of you are sticking around because we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to be interviewing Curtis Sliwa as well. So you are sticking around. Don't go anywhere. And you at home, don't go anywhere, because coming up after the break, yes, we are going one-on-one with Curtis Sliwa. What he made of his debate performance tonight. Do not go anywhere. You're watching the 2021 race for New York City Mayor on Pix 11, your local election.